how do you measure success of partnership? Do you measure pipeline? Do you measure like ecosystem? Do you measure revenue? How do you think about it?
What I would say is, whatever it is you want to happen from the partnership, make it clearly defined in the business plan before you launch it.
Right.
So that's in the agreeing stage. Different things are easier to measure.
Right.
For instance, if you want a sales partnership, it's very easy to just look at the revenue that's coming in and see, okay, it's doing well or not. If one partner is after customer service enhancements, then it's a completely different thing. For instance, a partnership that Uber and Shopify did. They teamed up in cities in the US for Uber drivers to deliver Shopify customers items, which basically is giving SMBs a quick delivery route, which maybe an Amazon or somebody else might have. But what looks like success for two companies is very different, right? Because Uber are looking at the per delivery fee, and Shopify, amongst the other things, are looking at customer satisfaction, fulfillment for a problem which they can't solve on their own. But as long as each of them knew what they wanted from that partnership, it works. So you need to establish what you want to track before you can look at what success looks like. Another example would be Sky and Netflix in the UK. So Sky are a broadcasting company here, a lot of you will know, and basically if you're a Sky Q customer, you can get Netflix attached for a very low price, which then asks the question, well, who does that do well for? Because both of them are looking for two different things. One, Netflix want rapid expansion into a customer base which they don't have. Sky are a dominant player in the UK. But at the same time, Sky want to make sure that people retain their Sky services without switching to what you would maybe consider as a competitor in Netflix.
That's interesting.
So retention would be the main driver for Sky, new acquisition, and eventual monetization of those customers might be the objective for Netflix. So it really depends on what you need and try to extract from the partnerships. But the only thing is that should be defined way up front.
Very interesting example actually you brought about, like basically like co-opetition, right? Do you see a lot of these things going on the market, or like would you think that it's like exceptional?
You don't see as much of it as you should see because it's quite counterintuitive.
Why?
Because typically it works well for both companies in some way to achieving an aim that they need to achieve. But the thought of partnering with what might be a competitor in the future usually stops people from exploring those things. But again, a lot of the time it could also be just a bad idea. But there's a lot of uneasiness about that because you can't have a partnership work without transparency. But if you're working with someone who might be seen as a competitor, even if not immediately, you start to worry about information sharing, database sharing, and all the other things that come with it.
How do you start thinking about hunting partnership and then engaging them, nurturing them?
Typically, I like to split them into 4 areas. So we have the search and select. This is a process of finding out what partners you should be working with on what propositions. There's a huge world out there. Do you work with someone in the same industry as you? Do you work with someone one stage before in the value chain or one stage after? And out of all those companies, which ones do you pick? It's not just the biggest company, let's go with them. It's which ones are aligned to your objectives and your incentives. The second would be to engage and agree. So you need to get meetings booked. You need to deliver the partnership message clearly and succinctly. And then you need to come up with a model you all agree on, the commercials, the legals, etc. The next stage is then to launch it. So you need to mobilize a team that can do that, from designers, from lawyers to acceleration specialists. It could be the same person. But there are roles that you need to do within that. And then the last phase we would have then is to then optimize the partnership. So that's tweaking things like sales plans and incentives, That's making sure that you're putting marketing budget behind it, getting it out to a far enough audience,
right.
seeing if the partnership works or not, or if the click-through rates are what you thought they would be.
Mm-hmm.
But that's kind of an area, again, where a lot of people just miss and forget. They think, let's celebrate the partnerships up and running.
Yeah.
But this is the most important phase, to keep your game hat on and make sure it's actually driving the results which you thought it would in the business plan.
Right. I see this like as one of the biggest missed opportunities or like potential, because I think too many people kind of shake hands and forget about it, and they expect each other to do something and nobody does anything, and partnership basically died. How do you produce different results?
It's a tough one, right? And this actually starts way before. It's like when you have a problem with your back and you go to a physiotherapist and they say, actually, it's starting from your toe.
Right.
Because you're walking a little bit funny and it's causing everything else to be out of kilt. It's the same way with a partnership. Typically, it was because things weren't clearly aligned in the beginning that you're now having problems in the end. Because when it becomes time to deliver results of the partnership, one partner might be like, actually, this isn't as important for us anymore.
Right.
Because you wasn't that bothered to figure out the alignment in the beginning. Or their stakeholders weren't completely bought in. So it's easy for them, new quarter, new partnership, let's just throw that one away.
Right.
And it's particularly common when big companies work with smaller companies. Unfortunately, you see that a lot. So we really spend a lot of time in that first part, the search and select, making sure you have the right partner who's going to be with you for the long term, not just somebody because it seems like it could be a nice idea that they want to get off the ground.
Right. So let's go back to engagement and building like two-sided relationships, right? How do you do it?
So I've seen it from multiple sides.
Right.
So I've seen it from Google, where if you want to engage with a partner or with someone in the leadership team, it's generally quite easy to do.
Right.
Doesn't mean that partnerships for Google are easy, because it comes with its own pressures and demands, and people think you're a big rich company, why are you giving me hard commercial terms, etc. I've also seen it from the startup side, where you're engaging with people who've never heard of your company before. And you really then need to get the proposition clear enough, the why clear enough, navigating through the company clear enough, the resources behind it need to be thorough as well. So there is no one model for this is how you enter, engage and launch a partnership, but generally you want the stakeholders that need to be involved bought in. And that could be the CEO that needs to sign it off. It could be the head of product and head of marketing. It could be the engineer that needs to build it. The sales team leader that needs to actually train his team to sell it. The worst thing you can do in partnerships is just to say, oh, the CEO, the C-level were bought in. Because they don't determine the success of the partnership. You can't just turn up to somebody's door and say, hey, you need to build this. Oh, this is on your team's agenda now. Unless you've brought people along the journey with you, it won't work. So that engagement is just as key as some senior level engagement, is what I would say.
How do you align your internal team and your partner team? Because as you mentioned, basically partnership function is like a separate department, right?
Yeah. So I always viewed myself at O2, at Google, even now, as working for both the company that's paying me and the company I'm trying to partner with. You need to sit in the middle of the ecosystem. Otherwise, you can't broker a deal that works for everybody, which ultimately means one side will pull away and back out. So you need to see arguments from both sides. If your partner says the commercials are unfair, you can't just say tough. You have to go, why are they unfair? And figure it out. So you sit in this awkward position, or great position, depending how you look at it, where you're neither the company that's paying you, neither the company that's partnering with you. And from there, you're able to pull strings, bring people in together, understand how both organizations work, win the trust of both organizations, that you're doing the best thing for the partnership, not for your side or for their side.